Renteria. 2 out of 3 tonight. The last chance for St. Louis to extend this game. Pujols takes second. On ball 1 inside. No stolen base.
Back to Folk. Red Sox fans have longed to hear it. The Boston Red Sox are world champions.
Swinging a ground ball, stabbed by Folk. He has it. He underhands to first, and the Boston Red Sox are the world champions. For the first time in 86 years, the Red Sox have won baseball's world championship. Can you believe it?
Seth Smith. Strike 1. The Boston Red Sox won 5 of the first 15 World Series. That had the 86-year drought. Terry Francona in his first year guided the Red Sox to that comeback down 3-0 in the ALCS to the Yankees in 2004, and then the sweep with the Cardinals in the World Series. Down 3-1 to the Cleveland Indians in the ALCS this year, trying to sweep the Colorado Rockies.
That is the first off-speed pitch that Papelbon has thrown since coming in the game. It looked like a splitter.
Seth Smith with 2 out. Ball 2. Papelbon trying to finish off 4 1/3 innings in this World Series without allowing a run, in 10 2/3 during the postseason without allowing a run. Behind on the count to Smith. Strike 2. Smith has never homered as a big leaguer. Called up in September, he's been a big weapon off the bench for Clint Hurdle. But now he and the Rockies are down to their last strike. Game over, series over, and the Red Sox are world champs again.
What's happening, everybody? Ryan Thomas here. live on the Thomas Take Sports podcast for a very special episode of the show. All things Boston Red Sox will be discussed in this episode as I'm joined by a special guest of mine. He's hopping on very shortly here, and get him on here. Always good to have an awesome guest to the show, especially one that is a fellow Red Sox fan. Very excited to have Jake Klingshirn on the show. Jake, you there?
I'm here, Ryan. I appreciate you having me on.
Of course, yeah. And is for the visual audience, are you there visually? I'm not seeing your face here.
You want it? There you go.
There you go.
I'm in the middle of driving.
There you are. How's it going, buddy?
I'm going good, man.
That's the beauty of podcast. Going good. Yeah. That's the beauty of podcasting. You can do it from anywhere nowadays.
That's right.
That's right.
Yeah,
is there a little bit of a delay on you?
Yeah, no worries. I appreciate you having me on. You do quite a show.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. So, Jake, I want to get your thoughts on the AL East leading Boston Red Sox. The Red Sox sit atop the AL East with a record of 54-33. What are your thoughts on the overachieving / comeback Red Sox this season?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head when you said overachieving. It doesn't mean they're not good players, but we definitely didn't see this happening this year, Ryan.
I didn't see it happening this year either. What was your thought process heading into the season? Where did you see the Red Sox, finishing out here in the AL East?
Probably second place behind Tampa Bay. I didn't see them up by 4.5, 5 games. That's for sure. We're only halfway through. It's a long way to go.
Now, you host your own Boston Red Sox show. It's the Sox and Sneakers Radio Show. Tell me a little bit about that show. When did you start that?
We started that back in 2020, so we're just over a year old. It's based out of Cleveland, Ohio. Yes. And Sox and Sneakers, yeah, that's the name of it. My buddy likes to collect shoes. He's probably got 200 pairs of shoes, and of course, being a Red Sox fan, it just kind of fit. So, great name. We talk all different kinds of sports, baseball, football, college, and pros. And we're definitely having fun with our podcast.
That's awesome. Now, I want to dive into, in the intro, I had the final out of the 2004 World Series. I had the final out of the 2007 World Series. 2013 and 2018, I'm going to play at the end of the show for the folks at home that need a fresh reminder that the Red Sox have won 4 World Series titles to the Yankees 1 since 2004. And, I want to get your take on, out of those championships, which one stands out to you the most?
By far, 2013. 2013 is my favorite Red Sox club.
Really? Now, why is that? That answer actually shocked me. I didn't expect that.
Okay, well, I think it's because in 2013, I probably watched every single game. I didn't miss a game. You know how when you have college and other things like that, you don't always get to see all the games. Being in Cleveland presently, I didn't get to see all the games in 2004. Yeah, there was a 86-year-old drought, and, that's big news for Boston, but I didn't get to see that team every day. I just got to see them in the playoffs when they're on national television.
So 2013, you were seeing like Shane Victorino stepping up to the dish every game.
Yeah, Napoli,
you were seeing Johnny Gomes, Jared Saltalamacchia.
Right. Petey, Poppy was still there. Jake Peavy, David Ross, all those guys. Yeah.
David Ortiz had a phenomenal season that year. If my memory serves me right, he hit over 300 in 2013. Sum up Big Poppy and what he kind of means to you as a Red Sox fan. I think he's an endearing figure among Red Sox Nation, but he means something different to everybody. Any Red Sox podcaster that I've talked to, there's always a story with David Ortiz that kind of captivated their attention with David Ortiz? What was like the first moment, I should say, that you saw David Ortiz and thought, holy crap, that guy's good?
Well, of course, 2004. I mean, they're down 3-0 to the Yankees. They're dead in the water. And he put that team on his back and just carried them to the promised land. It's almost surreal. He's almost like a superhero. I don't know how else to say
it. Any chance he got to put forth a clutch moment, he definitely did. And there was a player by the name of Johnny Damon on that 2004 team. That was my guy. I love Johnny Damon. I still do. It's a
even after he went
tough
to
pill
New
to
York?
swallow still for me, though, that he did actually. Not when he went to New York, but once he retired, I forgave him. I'm like, okay, his career's over now. We can forgive and forget. Who is the one player, though, that went from the Red Sox to the Yankees that you just can't look past it? For whatever reason, you just can't look past it. Who's that one guy?
Well, I mean, I try to look past it because it wasn't exactly. I'm going to have to say Euclid. He didn't go directly to the Yankees, but he was my dude. I mean, it was him and Petey on the right side of that infield, and you couldn't have a better infield back in the day. And just to see him in pinstripes, it just made my stomach turn, man.
It didn't look right either without the goatee. You had to shave the goatee off. It didn't look quite right.
Well, same thing. Go back to Damon. I mean, he went from looking like Jesus to I don't know what. You know, the clean shave. It doesn't look right.
A Wall Street stockbroker. That's what he looked like once he was playing.
There you go.
Yeah.
I mean,
sure.
even Odor that was on Texas and now he's on the Yankees. He looks like his own little brother or something. It doesn't look right.
He doesn't look like the same guy. Who are some guys out there? Yeah, who are some guys out there that, Red Sox wise, outside of the recent years, who are some Red Sox players that made you fall in love with the Red Sox? Like when you were growing up.
When I was growing up, I'd probably have to say Wakefield, just because of there's not many knuckleballers around. So when there's one that good, you're just amazed by it. And that Aaron Boone home run from 2003, I still hate that play. Every time I see his ass in the dugout, that's what I think of every time, is that lucky swing he got, and it put the Yankees ahead.
Oh, that was a tough pill to swallow. But that's a good segue, though, because Aaron Boone is the manager of the New York Yankees now, and he has been for the past couple seasons. And I have a question for you. How about those Yankees? This is our chance to kind of, rip the Yankees, tear the Yankees a new one. The Yankees are at the bottom of the division practically in terms of, outside of Baltimore, of course. They're at the bottom of the division. They're behind Toronto, behind Tampa Bay, behind obviously Boston. And what are your thoughts on the current state of the New York Yankees right now, as you see it?
I guess to sum it up, underperforming. Their offense, if you look at their names on paper, there's no way they're in fourth place in 9.5, 10 games out of first. I know they've had some pitching problems. I guess I'll wait till you ask me about pitching before I start ripping on Cole, but that's my favorite thing to do. But as far as their offense,
the floor is yours. The floor is yours.
Okay, well, I saw a stat the other day. I can post it on the comments of your show here. His ERA, his strikeout per 9 just went in the toilet, man, after the whole sticky stuff thing came out. He went from 5-1 to, I believe, it was a losing record of like 1-5 after that. His innings pitched were like only a third of an inning difference, so that was comparable. The strikeouts per 9 went from, I want to say, 11 down to almost 7. Nothing is there. And and sad to say it couldn't happen to a better team because they're still stuck with that $245 million contract. And he's looking like he's in his first or second year back in Pittsburgh. And I feel bad for him as a player, but I just can't help but, sit there and smile and go, hell yeah, because it's the Yankees and they finally screwed themselves because they're buried in that contract and they're getting no production. There's no way you can say he's my ace. It's a joke that he's in the All-Star game. Same thing with Chapman. Same thing with Judge. All of these, that's the thing about the starters in the All-Star game. It's a popularity contest. There's no way Judge wouldn't be an All-Star due to popularity, but due to performance, he's absolutely underperformed. What is he batting, like 260 something? It's absolutely insane. Chapman's not the same. He's blowing saves all over the place. Rafi Devers is his dad. Because Devers owns him every time in every big moment. I just am loving this year. I'm a Sox fan through and through, just like yourself. Mm-hmm. But more than seeing the Sox win it all this year because you weren't expecting it, and there's a long way to go yet, I would love to see the Yankees be 500 or below. Because when I looked, they were 42 and 41. The Yankees haven't been below 500 in I don't know how many years, Ryan. I would have to go back and look. It's probably been quite some time. You may have said this on one of your past. Okay, you may have said this on one of your past shows before. So forgive me, audience, if this has been said, but they broke their streak because they haven't made the World Series in a whole decade now. It's the first decade since I think the 70s or something like that they haven't made a World Series because they haven't been in one since 2009, and it's now 2021. They're consistently in the top 3 as far as payroll. The Dodgers are blowing everybody away at $250 million for the year. But as far as the Yankees, they spend all this money, and it's finally biting them in the ass with their aging roster and underperforming offense. And now that the pitchers don't have this rotation on the ball and can't hold a ball straight up with the sticky stuff, well, guess what? They're average at best pitchers. That's what they have, and they overpaid for all of them.
You made a really great point there as far as Garrett Cole goes. I want to throw another point out there for the folks that are tuning in. If I'm the Yankees right now, given what's going on with Garrett Cole, I would feel somewhat duped by Cole in the sense that he pitched really, really well for a cheating Houston Astros team who found their own way to cheat by hitting the trash cans and all that stuff. We know that. But Garrett Cole was finding his own way to cheat, evidently, for quite some time with this spider tack stuff that, he's used, Trevor Bauer's used, and a few other guys in the league have used. The Seattle Mariners pitcher was caught with it. I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but he pitched so well in that short little window there, going from Pittsburgh to Houston, that he was able to earn himself a big contract with the New York Yankees, where now the Yankees are looking at it like, was Garrett Cole actually that good, or was he good because he was relying on something that obviously helped his performance? If I'm the Yankees, I feel duped by Garrett Cole in that sense. And if I am the Yankees moving forward, I don't know if Aaron Boone is the guy to really rally the troops and get these guys on the same page. It looks like to me there's a massive disconnect between the manager and the players. What are your thoughts on that? What are your thoughts specifically on the job that Aaron Boone has done thus far as the manager of the New York Yankees?
Well, he's had some good years. You can't say he's done a total horrible job. He comes from a baseball knowledge family. So I'm not going to sit there and rip on the guy. I was a fan of his when he was in Cincinnati, and Brett Boone as well. But as far as this year, when shit gets hard, you have to be able to rally the troops. And I don't know the Yankees roster that well enough as far as leadership wise. If this was happening in Boston, what would happen? Pedroia and Ortiz would round everybody up and say, look, you need to get your act right. Everybody knows their assignments. Do what you're supposed to do and take it one game at a time, right? I don't know who the answer is for that in New York. Gardner's been there the longest. He's been there longer than any player on any current roster across Major League Baseball. Is he the guy? I don't know. Sanchez, he hasn't been there long enough. Usually the catchers are sometimes leaders. I don't think he'd be the guy to rally the troops. Is it Stanton? He doesn't really have playoff experience. So I don't know where they turn as far as players. I think it has to come more for like a non-coaches, players-only meeting and try to get everybody resettled and restarted. But I don't know where that comes from, and I think they have big issues with that.
I agree, and I think they also have issues, not just from a leadership standpoint, but from a roster makeup standpoint. I do know the roster pretty well, and as I look at it, I see a lot of the same types of players. All bark, no bite, or all or nothing. Guys that can hit home runs for sure, for certain, but they can't hit for average. And in this league, and more importantly, in this division, the American League East, which is always a tough division every year, no matter what year we're talking about, it's always tough. You need guys that can get on base. And they do not have the guys that can move around the diamond, so to speak, go from first to second, turn a single into a double just based on speed alone, or a double into a triple based on speed alone. Where the Red Sox have these role players like Marwin Gonzalez who can play a bunch of different positions, can field fairly well. The Yankees just simply don't have guys like that. And I think that it shows at this point. It's shown for sure dog days of the season, the go big or go home moments, August, September, leading into hopefully, for the Red Sox for sure, fall baseball. With the Yankees at this point, do you think they'll make the playoffs?
As far as the Yankees, no, I think they're done. I mean, if you weren't a fan, let me put it this way. This is how I explained it to somebody else. If you weren't a fan of a team in the AL East and you looked at the standings and said, hey, look, there's the Yankees at 10 games out, or it's around 10 games. 10 games out. Do they have a chance to jump 3 teams to make the playoffs and win the division? I don't think so. I know there's 2 wild card teams, so are both wild cards going to come out of the East? I doubt it. One will probably come out of the West. I think the Yankees are done. I think there's nowhere to turn. I mean, to touch on your point of they don't have guys that are utility type guys where they can play 2 or 3 spots and help get people days off and things like that. That comes with aging players, though, too. When you got guys, like an Odor who might be able to play shortstop or third in a pinch, but for the most part, he's a second baseman. That's all you're going to get out of him is second base. Maybe first, but a lot of things are different with footwork from second base to first base, so who knows? It might be too late for that. When you have Aaron Judge playing center field, you're in trouble. By the way, he set the major league record for the tallest guy to ever play center field in Major League Baseball at, 6'9" or 6'7"?
Yeah.
Anyways, when he's playing center field,
almost, yeah.
I mean, they're in trouble. I mean, Gardner's how old? 36, 37 years old. He's an everyday outfielder now. There's nothing like that in the rest of baseball. Maybe he's that good of an athlete. He still wants to play, but I don't think they have anywhere to turn. And I don't see anybody in their farm system to come up and save the day either. And that's why they just keep going to the market and buying and buying and buying, which is the number one reason I hate the Yankees, is because they buy everybody, and they always have, all the way back to a guy that wore number 3 for the Red Sox and pitched a little bit. They buy him
pitched
too.
a lot.
Yes, he did. Yes, he
pitched
did.
a lot for the Red Sox. It's a crazy. That's that's the tale as old as time. That I'm sure I'm positive they've made movies on it, but I feel like that they should make a more up to date, current
They
movie
should.
about how Babe Ruth went from the Red Sox to the Yankees.
I won't watch a musical to this day. I won't. I told my wife, don't ask me. I'm not doing it. It's the reason it all fell apart. But I guess in a selfish way, I'm
true.
kind of glad that we were here, Ryan, to witness 04, because 04 wouldn't have been as special if you didn't have to wait 86 years. It just so happens we're at the age where we didn't have to wait that long.
Right. Thank God. Yeah, thank God. I watched that 2004 World Series with my grandfather, and he was a lifelong Red Sox fan, and that was his first World Series and mine. So that was pretty cool that we were able to share that. Yeah. And that's when I asked you, which one was your favorite? To me, like 2004 just takes the cake. 2018, I mean, that team was really solid. It was the best team in baseball, in my opinion, the whole season long. There was nobody that was even close to them in 2018, to the point where Joe Buck even said the best team in baseball wins it all in the final call. So 2018 is fresh in my mind too, but 2004, man, the comeback against the Yankees and then to sweep the St. Louis Cardinals, who had a really good team, that was pretty amazing. But back to the current Red Sox. I got a few more questions for you on the current Red Sox. As I stated from the top of the show, the Red Sox have the best record in the American League, all without, we didn't even touch on this yet, all without their ace, the true ace, the guy that doesn't need the spider tack substance to pitch well, Chris Sale. Once Sale returns, are the Red Sox favorites to represent the AL, the American League, in the World Series this year, Jake?
I'd have to say they are. I really would. We've seen it before. He knows how to put Houston in their place, and they're the ones I'm kind of worried about. For some reason, and you know this as being a Red Sox fan, Oakland always plays us tough. So if somehow they end up with a wild card spot, I don't want to play them in the first round. I really don't, because somehow they always give us fits. It doesn't matter who they have on their team. It might be, the Eckersley ghost or something running around Oakland or something. I don't know any other ties between Red Sox and the A's except for that. But I don't see anybody else beating the Red Sox. To get Chris Sale, there's been reports out there, and I'm sure you've seen it, that they use him as an opener and not in a rotation spot. I don't know about you, but I don't know if you have a healthy Chris Sale who goes to Alex Cora and says, Coach, I can give you 5 to 6 innings. I don't know how he doesn't get Richardson's spot in the rotation.
Yeah, I think Chris Sale is definitely. I've read the reports, Jake, and they're from valid, sources. They're not, crummy sources by any stretch. So that's why, your ears perk up like a puppy when you hear and read stuff like that, as far as Chris Sale being an opener. But Chris Sale is one of the 3, when healthy, Chris Sale is one of the 3 best pitchers in the game, in my opinion. So in terms of being a workhorse, the day and age of a pitcher being a workhorse and not having a pitch count, Chris Sale is like one of the few guys that could actually do that. Start after start after start after start. Cole is another one. I don't know if he can do that this year. He's on a downslide, and I think another one that jumps into my head would be Trevor Bauer. Who knows if he's going to be coming back? So,
well, I'm surprised you didn't say Kershaw, but before we went on the air, Kershaw went on the IL with a forearm strain.
Oh,
it just came on before we went on the air. So he's down and Bauer's out. The Dodgers are in trouble. They better watch out.
Yeah.
I think the Padres are going to take that division, honestly. I think the Dodgers let them stick around too long, and I think with some front-end rotation injuries, the Dodgers have something to worry about.
become more of a betting man than I ever was lately.
Okay.
I've been a casino guest the last few seasons, I guess, for football purposes. But I decided to do a futures bet on all the divisions in baseball. Bet on the Red Sox to win the AL East. They were like plus 800 at the start of the season. It was ridiculous.
I can believe that. Yeah.
I was like, there's no way I'm not taking that. Luckily, that was, to my benefit so far. I also took the Padres. I think the World Series this year, to answer my own question, I think the World Series this year is going to be the San Diego Padres and the Boston Red Sox. What do you think of that? What do you think of that?
Well, I'm sitting here in the back of my head because I figured this question was coming. When you asked me if you thought the Red Sox could make it to the World Series, the only team I believe that would give the Red Sox extreme fits to the point where they might not be able to survive the starting pitching would be the Dodgers if the Dodgers were healthy. So if you didn't have to play the Dodgers, I would think the Red Sox would fare well. I'm not saying they'd sweep or anything, but they'd have a fair shot in the World Series to win it all.
Now, I like that.
You know what this year reminds me of, though, Ryan? And I'm going to go back to my first answer that you asked me today. This year reminds me of the 13 Red Sox, and you know why? Because no one expected it. That's why it's one of my favorites, because 2012, they were last place or close to last, right? They bring Farrell in after the whole thing with Bobby Valentine?
Oh, my God.
Right? Okay. They bring Farrell in his first year, and it turns it around like that. Yeah. So it's one of those things of that's what this year reminds me of. And then you ask yourself, because I know I read it all the time, and being from Cleveland and having friends in Cleveland, and they hate the Red Sox up here because of 2007. And because, anybody who won that division or that series between the Red Sox and the Indians was going to beat the Rockies. There was no question. And of course, the Indians haven't won anything since 48. So everybody up here hates the Red Sox almost as much as they hate the Yankees, which to me, there's a big, huge difference, but that's fine. But it's one of those things where I really, really see similarities between not expecting much, rebuilding, and then all of a sudden, hey, there's something here. And does the manager make that big of a difference? I guess that's my main question back to you. Do you believe that going from a Valentin to a Farrell, or going from, the Renicky, he was a solid bench coach and he did well. He wasn't terrible. Right. And I kind of hoped they left him around. Maybe he didn't want to go back to a coach after he managed. He's older. Maybe he said he's done. And I don't know the story behind it, but I really kind of wish they kept him around when Cora came back this year.
Yeah, I liked Ron Renicky just from his experience. Like you're saying, he worked under a lot of different ball clubs. And yes. I thought prior to the season, okay, this might not be the best Red Sox team on paper. This is not the team they had in 2018. But I love the addition of Alex Verdugo. When they made the Mookie Betts trade, I wasn't overly thrilled, as were the majority of Red Sox fans. We were not thrilled when Mookie Betts was traded. But to get Alex Verdugo back in that trade, I know what type of player he is. I've watched him play for the Dodgers and work his way up to the Dodgers, and he's a solid player. So I was happy to get him among, a few other players. Jeter Downs, who's working his way up through the minor leagues right now in the Red Sox organization. I think he's going to be really good as well. And then you throw in guys like Nathan Eovaldi, who has had a fantastic year with Alex Cora back. When Alex Cora was suspended, guys like JD Martinez, Nathan Eovaldi, Christian Vasquez, they all were very adamant that is a massive loss for this team. And now that Cora's back, all three of those guys look to be back into 2018 form. Christian Vasquez is having the best season of his career so far.
And not to say you're wrong with any of those names, but I think you left the biggest name off. Rafi Devers had the biggest impact from Alex Cora. He even publicly came out and said, "Coach, I'm glad you're back."
Yeah.
I mean,
that's true.
And remember, he was a dead pull hitter. They'd almost put 4 infielders right of second base. And he said, "I'll tell you what, young kid, I'll buy you dinner at some classy restaurant, or you won't have to do this at practice if you hit one down the third baseline, or pepper one in a game off the wall." I mean, for a left-handed hitter, that to hit the opposite way and have a short wall, that's almost a dream.
Yeah.
Hit a line drive out to right where the wall's short and hit one the opposite way, and you don't have to worry about hitting it over anything because it just goes off the wall and you could possibly get 2.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree with your assessment. There was another name I was thinking of, and that was it. And it just didn't come to me. But Rafael Devers, the transformation that he has had as a hitter has been remarkable over the last 2-3 years. He's leading
all of the American League Baseball players at third base, all the third basemen in every single offensive category.
Right.
And
I mean,
the Red Sox this offseason, that needs to be their number one priority, Ryan, is to get him on an extension. There's no way you let him walk. I mean, I'm not saying give him Mookie Betts money, but he's worth money, and you're going to want to keep him. He seems happy here. Here's the thing that confused me. Maybe you can spread some light on this, or maybe you have a different opinion. I don't understand with all of his throwing errors why they didn't put him at first and put a natural third baseman at Bobby Dahlbeck over at third instead of having him introverted and switched.
That's a really good point. I know, too, when Rafi Devers, much like Vlad Jr., when they both first came up, they were not in shape. They were not, in athletic condition to play third. You have to be in very, very good shape baseball-wise to play that hot corner. And I see Rafi, and I'm like, this guy looks like a pudgy first baseman to me. I saw Vlad Jr.
You look like Sandoval, to put it. I mean, the bad, and I don't want to, because I didn't really like him.
Right.
And Rafi's one of my favorites, but he came into shape, and I'm like, here we go again. But he's flashing the leather, and he's improving on his throws. It's fun to watch him play third base now. But when they mention in a broadcast, O'Brien says, "Oh yeah, Bobby D used to be third base." I'm thinking, Alex, what the hell are you doing? Just switch them.
Right. Yeah, I think that is like what on the surface that is something that they should have done, but it's almost as if Alex Cora was just throwing challenge after challenge after challenge at Rafi Devers, waiting for him to finally, react to it, and Rafi just never reacted to it and just succeeded after every challenge. Like he has come a long, long way, and it kind of goes back to Dustin Pedroia too, who you mentioned. They were calling for him to be designated for assignment when he first was brought. I mean, the message boards. I remember reading the message boards. Who's this short guy playing second that can't hit, can't really field that well? And then all of a sudden, the guy just blew the roof off. Not that there is a roof on Fenway Park, but let's just say Red Sox Nation sounded like a rock concert when that guy was playing for the Red Sox. So
he knocked his ceiling up a couple notches and then exceeded it again.
Yeah,
that's exactly what he did. And then they had that ceremony for him. Were you at Fenway for that ceremony?
I was not, unfortunately. I was not, but I watched it. I taped it. And I've watched it a lot the last couple of weeks, and I have to say too, I'm glad we brought this up because Dustin Pedroia was my favorite player. Like when I was in high school, growing up, that was my guy. I was wearing a 15 shirt. I had tons of different 15 shirts representing Petey. And what does he embody to you as a Red Sox fan? I think like a guy like him, you mentioned him and Ortiz. What does he mean to you as a Sox fan?
Dustin Pedroia is the heart and soul of all the Red Sox teams that he was on. You know, David Ortiz might have been the motivator, but Pedroia did everything the right way, and he did it 110% all the time. And I think that's what I like the best about him. My baseball career wasn't that great. I played 1 year of high school. That was it. So to look at somebody, like you said, there was tons of naysayers, and he's too short. He's not playing well. Can he even throw it over from second base? I mean, he looks like he's 12. Then he grows that big beard out, and there went that. But he did everything the right way, Ryan.
He did.
I remember the story when what did he do? He ruptured his Achilles. He his ankle earlier in his career, and he had a surgery on it, and he was in a walking boot. And if you remember, he had that high rise where he could see Fenway Park from where he lived.
Mm-hmm.
And he's sitting there, and he's looking at his wife Kelly, and he says, I gotta go to the field. I can't just sit here anymore. I'm going crazy. I mean, he's like a little Energizer bunny. He even does that little hop before every pitch, right?
Right.
And he's sitting there getting fielding practice on his knees because he can't step on his foot. And Tito comes out like, son, what are you doing? Well, Coach, I want to get rusty. I got to do this. He goes, you had surgery 3 days ago. Like, go sit down. That's who he was. He would give everything he could to any team. And I think that motivated everybody around him to play better, because if not, you're left in the dust. In fact, you wouldn't even see the dust. The bus would be gone, and you'd be standing in the street by yourself. I mean, if you didn't play,
way.
well, but that's just it. If you didn't play like half as good as Dustin Pedroia, you didn't belong on the Red Sox. He did everything he needed to do every single year. He gave everything he had, and I really, really hope that Machado injury to his knee didn't cost him the Hall of Fame, because I kind of thought he needed 3,000 hits to make it, and he's well short because he got those seasons cut short.
Right, there were 3 or 4 years that were cut from his career because of that injury, and it's unfortunate. I was to mention that game. I was watching that game live when that happened. And that's one of the few injuries you never want to see happen to any player in a major league uniform, where the runner slides right into his ankle and or his knee, and that was rough. That's rough for me even to re-envision, I should say. But yeah, it's a tough pill to swallow when you know that could, to your point, it could have hurt his chances in the Hall of Fame. But I look at the numbers and the longevity that the consistency that he had through the entirety of his career. Is that enough to get him in the Hall of Fame? I would say so. Maybe I'm a little biased in that vote.
That's just it. We're both being biased, Ryan. But I mean, truthfully, I hope you're right. I really do.
Mm-hmm.
I believe he deserves to be there. But will the voters and the writers think the same way? I don't know. He might be one of those guys that tops out at 50% and he sticks on the ballot for a couple years. He might sneak in on those years where, we just saw it. No one makes it in because they didn't vote anybody in, and there wasn't anybody worth voting. So everyone just kind of floundered around 85%.
Right.
But maybe on one of those weaker years, he makes it.
There's a guy out there by the name of Kurt Schilling that has, come closer and closer to making it into Cooperstown. But I'm wondering what your thoughts are. Do you think that he'll make it, or do you think that he's going to come up short again?
Well,
and be off the ballot
soon? From what I've seen of your show, you don't talk a lot of politics, and I'm not going to start. But there's a reason I don't watch much of the NBA, and that's because that's all it is politics. And I hope that his political views and the things that he does off the field doesn't hurt his chances. I mean, we've all seen the films. Like you said it, 04 is fresh in your mind, if you had to pick one superhero from 04 besides a David Ortiz, who would it be? It's got to be Curt Schilling. You have an ankle surgery on your foot, and you go out and shut the Yankees up. And he said it publicly. He goes, I will never play for New York, and I just love to go there and just shut them the hell up.
And then he signed
and that's
here.
Exactly what he did.
Signed there. I say here, I'm a kid from Buffalo, and I say here. That's how much I love the Red Sox. But no, I agree with you. There was in 2003. I want to mention this real quick too on Schilling.
Yeah.
In 2003, when they lost to the Yankees, and Tim Wakefield threw that knuckleball that didn't move, and it was just a tater tot for Aaron Boone to just swing out of the park. I thought to myself, I was sitting there, I was at my grandparents' house. I'm sitting next to my grandpa, and I'm like, well, that's that. They got to, rebuild next year, come back stronger. And he's like, what do you think they need? And I said, I think they need an experienced starting pitcher, a guy that's pitched in big games, big moments, that has been a good pitcher. And sure enough, Curt Schilling was a free agent. They went out and got him. And I thought to myself, this might be the difference between 2003 and 2004. And I was right. As a 12-year-old, that was like my first sports take that I can hang my hat on and say I was right about that one. So that one's always, embedded in my memory. And you said, who was the superhero of 2004? Most would say David Ortiz. I would honestly say Curt Schilling. He was microscopic in the postseason. His ERA was in the ones, and he was hurt.
That's right. He was hurt. And somebody posted the other day on social media, what's your favorite sports movies? And I always put this on my list. I always put 4 Days in October from ESPN 30 for 30. And I always get flack and everybody says, that's not a movie. And I said, you know what? I could watch that thing over and over again, Ryan, and the hair on my neck stands up and I get goosebumps and I get excited. And I tell you what, every winter I watch that thing 2 or 3 times because March Madness is over. Stuff's not starting yet. Spring training's not always broadcasted here in Ohio. I just got to watch my ESPN 30 for 30, and I'll watch it 3 times in a row. I don't care. And it just gives me goosebumps. But what I took away from that was 2 of my favorite players from that 04 team. It wasn't a David Ortiz. Yeah, he was one of the top performers, but it was Kevin Millar and it was Curt Schilling. Those guys were the let's go. I'm going to show you how to do this. I'm not going to let you hang your head. Let's go. Chin up. Here's what we need to do. I mean, that interview with Kevin Millar with Shaughnessy in that ESPN 30 for 30 of don't let the Sox win this game, because that was their confidence. Right. Don't let us win today, because if we win today, we're going to win tomorrow. And you got Schilling game 6, and I could go out and pitch in game 7 because we're going to cream you.
Yeah, their motivation for that 4th game to not lose it was what won them the series. As crazy as that sounds, it was like kind of divine intervention in the way that they envisioned, we're going to win this game and everything else is going to take care of itself. Because if we still have enough fight in us to win one game down 3-0, we have enough fight in us to win the next one and the next one and the next one. And they did. And I don't think any other team will ever do it like that again. I mean, especially when we go back and look at really the broad spectrum of it, just in terms of baseball, the Yankees and the Red Sox at that time, what made the rivalry so great at that time, those were the 2 best teams in the game. Those in the whole league at that time. I mean, the NL was kind of thin in comparison to what it has been, obviously, in recent years. And I feel like they were both so well matched. Then you throw the wrench in there of A-Rod and Schilling and A-Rod and Veritek with their brawl and Roger Clemens, and all that. Pedro throwing Don Zimmer down, I still laugh at that. I'm sorry. That to me was funny.
So what is your take on the whole Zimmer Pedro thing? because I'll go first because I'm not scared to say it. All right. Zimmer was a Red Sox manager before he was a Yankees bench coach, right? So he knows what that rivalry is, right?
Yep.
If you want to act like a 20-some-year-old player and go up and get in the middle of everything and mouth off to the best pitcher on the other team, what do you think's going to happen? He didn't swing at him. He just pushed him down.
Yeah.
Everybody says, well, how could you stand behind that? He's 70-some years old and he pushed him down. What is he supposed to do?
It's a fair point. When he charged him, right? I mean, he charged him. He put his finger and he went, and then he charged him. He urged him to come on if he wanted to, and then Zimmer did, and those things happen. And Don Zimmer was wearing the Yankee coat. I mean, he's putting himself out there as Yankees versus Red Sox in that moment. Yeah. So I still don't have a problem with it. Who was the starting pitcher for the Yankees that day? Because I'm trying to remember who it was. But he was bleeding down the ear, remember? I think it was either Kevin Brown or...
It wasn't Kevin Brown.
Was it Javier Vasquez?
It might have been. Yeah. I can see the guy's face. Yeah. But I just remember Kapler and Nixon went after him. Mm-hmm. And if you remember, Kapler was a bodybuilder before he played baseball. Yeah. So I really wouldn't get mixed up with that guy.
No. Yeah, I do remember that pretty vividly. I wouldn't get mixed up with Trot either. That dude looks like he could sling it. But I got a question here. This is going to be a funny one that you're going to laugh at. I got a question, and it's towards me, but I'll definitely let you chime in as someone that lives in Cleveland. Question is, would I still root for the Red Sox if the city of Buffalo, my home city, had a Major League Baseball team? And it's an interesting question because the Toronto Blue Jays are playing in Buffalo for the foreseeable future. Looks like that could change in early August, maybe late July. And it's been pretty awesome. I haven't been to a Blue Jays game in Buffalo yet, but I'm going to the 3 that they're playing against the Red Sox, July 19th, 20th, and 21st. I'm going to get a chance to see that series. And when I bought those tickets, I thought to myself, if Buffalo did have a team, would I have a rooting interest in that team? Of course. But when you're brought into baseball as a youngster, you root for maybe who your dad likes. In my case, I rooted for who my grandfather liked, and those were the games that were on the TV. The Red Sox games were on the TV, so that was the team that I grew up watching. That's the team that I, grew up rooting for. So, if my grandpa wouldn't have been a Buffalo Bison's MLB fan, he still would have been a Boston Red Sox fan. So with that, it's Red Sox, ride or die, never changing my fanhood. If Buffalo did end up getting a Major League Baseball team, I would root for them, but the Red Sox are still my team. What do you say to that, Jake, as someone that lives in Cleveland and roots for the Red Sox?
So I kind of wanted to tell this story, so this is a good segue. So everybody always asks me, why do you live in Cleveland? Because I was born in Cleveland. I'm on the west side of Cleveland. How are you a Red Sox fan? I like competition. I like rivalries, okay? That's the main thing. Before that, when I was a kid, we didn't have MLB Live. You couldn't buy extra innings. So, I watched the Indians. I remember the 95, the 97, all that stuff. Robbie Alomar was my favorite when I was an Indians fan. But it got to the point where I liked him better than I liked the team. And when they traded him, I said, well, I'm not going to stick with a team that's trading him. They dished him off to the Mets and got 5 or 6 prospects back. And I said, well, all right, I'll follow his career around. Okay. So he happened to retire in 2002. I was doing, working summer jobs, really didn't watch baseball that much. And then I'm sitting there watching a Red Sox-Yankees game on Channel 8 that's nationally broadcasted. And there's this famous fight, and there's a photo of it of A-Rod and Veritek going at it. And as, somebody from Cleveland, everybody, you ask anybody in Cleveland, Because here's my thing. You asked anybody in Cleveland, I said, who's the Indians' rival? Do they sell the place out when the Royals come to town, or the Twins, or the Tigers? Because you have the Ohio State-Michigan thing, so, are the Tigers a big rival to the Indians? No. They all say the Yankees, all of them. And I said, well, that's like you saying Browns and Steelers are a rivalry, but the Steelers look at the Ravens more of a rival than the Browns until the Browns got good. And I know you and I have gone back and forth on that. I'm a Browns fan, and we've peaked at the same time, man. The Bills and the Browns have been bad forever, and we can have another show about that. But, it's one of those things where I said, you know what? I hate the Yankees so bad. I'm going to root for the team that's their rival and has, the players that want to stand up to the Yankees. And I always liked Fenway Park before that. I like the old-fashioned parks, okay?
Yeah.
My goal in life is to go to every single park. That's what I want to do. Goal. I want to go to every park.
I have that same goal.
Okay, great. Well, you know what? If we can't find somebody to go with each other, we'll go together. We'll meet somewhere and go to the game. I've been to Wrigley. I've been to Fenway 3 times, okay? So for my 21st birthday present, my parents bought 2 tickets to a Red Sox Baltimore game at Fenway Park. It was September 1st, 2007, okay? Right before my 21st birthday. And I don't know if that date means anything to you. Clay Buchholz pitched his second game, and it happened to be a no-hitter. That was my first trip to Fenway Park was Clay Buchholz no-hitter, 10-0 against Baltimore. That was my first trip to Fenway. I've been there 3 times, okay?
Wow.
I went 2007, so that was 2007. What happened then? They won the World Series. Then I went and saw the back half of a Yankees-Red Sox series in 2018, and the second game was a walk-off on a pass ball. Jackie Bradley scored from second base on a pass ball, and the Red Sox won. The place went nuts. Yeah. I mean, we were high-fiving strangers. You would have thought we won the World Series. That's awesome. My wife looks at me, who's not really a sports fan, which is fine, and she goes, "Why? How are you this excited?" And I said, "You don't understand. This is my Disneyland. You brought me to Fenway Park. It's the best place in the world."
It really is.
I've been to Fenway 3 times, and I haven't lost, and I've seen a walk-off against the Yankees and a no-hitter.
That's amazing.
It doesn't get any better than that, man.
That's amazing. I went to Fenway when they clinched.
I was going to ask you how many times you've been there.
I've only been there once. Once, which it pains me to say that, but that's going to change. That's for sure.
Okay.
I'm going to seek to it. But I went there when they played the Tampa Bay Rays, and they clinched the AL East in 2013 at the game that I went to. So that was really cool. And just the city is, I've always really liked the city. I like the roots of Boston, and how some of it looks old and some of it looks new. And it's just a cool, old school city that I feel like a lot of cities nowadays that are, major metropolitan cities, they try to make everything new, where Boston tries to embrace the old, culture that they have in terms of the buildings and the architecture. And that's something that I definitely noticed when I was there. And I also noticed the fact that, as you said, Fenway Park is the best. I've been to a lot of sporting events, obviously, over, I think like 7 or 8 parks, and Fenway takes the cake. There's nothing better. So, and I've been to a lot of football games too. I love, Bills tailgates, but I would go to a game at Fenway Park any day over a Bills game. I hate to, say that for all my Bills fans out there, but I really would.
So I take it baseball's your favorite over football?
It's tough because
I don't mean to put you on the spot. It depends on the month of the year. I get it.
Yeah. It's tough because baseball is probably like my heart's favorite. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like, due to the relationship that I have with my grandfather, he was a coach, and he taught me everything about the game. My dad did as well. My dad and I go to baseball parks, when we, pre-COVID, we would go to a different one almost every year. So baseball just has, I think what makes baseball more of my favorite in comparison to football, it's far more of a spectator sport than football is. And I say that and people say, well, baseball is really slow moving. When I go to a baseball game, I don't know about you, but when I go to a baseball game, especially if it's at a park I've never been to, I'm sitting in my seats for like 4 or 5 innings. And then for like a couple innings, I'm walking around to see what statues are around, see if they have like I went into the Philadelphia Phillies Hall of Fame wing during the game when I was in Philadelphia. You know, like those are things that football just doesn't really offer. You know, like you can't get that historic nostalgia of
it depends where you go. If you went to Lambeau, you get that.
Right, but that's like in football, there's like 3 or 4 places, where in baseball,
it's everywhere.
It's everywhere. Yeah, each park has its own, cloth that it's cut from, and that's I think what makes baseball better than any other sport. They do have the history on their side, but I love football. That's a really tough question.
Well,
That's a really tough one. You got me on that one. I can't pick.
Well,
I can't.
I'll tell you like this: baseball is my favorite.
Okay.
Baseball is my favorite because I couldn't play football in high school, and so I played baseball, and I grew up with baseball. So baseball is by far my favorite, and we could have a whole nother show over all these rule changes because I absolutely hate all of them, between the mound visit counts and the 3 batter minimum and all that stuff. I absolutely hate them.
Yeah.
For the people that say baseball's boring because there's nothing happening, isn't watching the game.
Right.
There's a lot going on between each pitch of things that happen. It's a chess game. There's moving parts. I loved when I was a kid and there was that lefty-lefty matchup, and they wanted to just have a guy come out, face one batter. Hey, you got him out. Go sit down. That's part of the game. That
right.
If you want to pull a guy out after only getting one of your 27 outs, that's either to your advantage or your disadvantage because you could run out of pitchers. Same thing with the shift. People, we should outlaw the shift. That's why there's more strikeouts than hits in baseball right now, which is true, because of the shift. That's not the problem. The problem is you have major league hitters that don't know how to hit the other way because they're all worried about exit velocity and launch angle. That's not baseball. Ted Williams would not like all this kind of stuff in baseball. He was the purest hitter this game will ever see, and it was see ball, hit ball, and he was damn good at it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think, baseball has done more damage to itself than any other sport. That I would definitely, I've said that, and I give the benefit of the doubt to people that say that it's boring. I say it's not boring, it's just broken. There's a big difference. It's not boring in the sense that the game itself is boring. It's just broken in terms of, generation to generation, their grandfather, their father, they pass it down to you. You're going to enjoy the game. And they instill it in you to enjoy it. The fact that baseball has tried so hard, you're not going to be converted. You know what I mean? You're not going to be turned from a casual to a hardcore.
Right. Ryan, did I lose you?
Oh, yeah, we're back now. So, yeah, what I was saying was, can you hear?
You're breaking up. I don't know if it's you or me.
It might be me. My apologies. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you, but the image keeps freezing. But I get what I think I got the gist of what you're saying. If you can hear me,
Yeah, I can hear you.
The true fans aren't going to be swayed one way or the other and be turned off from baseball because of these rule changes, even though I don't care for a lot of them. And the biggest thing that I absolutely hate, Ryan, and both of us are younger compared to most baseball fans, because I think the average age of baseball fan is like in their early 50s, okay?
Right.
Is we don't need things instantly all the time. That's what they keep saying is we're losing fans because the baseball fans don't want to wait 9 innings to see a winner. There's not enough excitement, and this isn't what they want to do. They don't want to sit there and wait and wait and wait, and there's not enough action to keep them interested. But that goes back to what I said of there's so many things going on behind the scenes. A true baseball fan, to them, it's nonstop. There's always something going on.
Right.
Or you sit there watching a game and you go, "Oh, they should do this and this and this. Let's pull out, Hernandez out of center and put him at second base. Let's switch this guy over here," or whatever Cora's got going on. Or, let's get this pitching matchup going. Let's give Erod an extra day off because he's probably still not right from last year, because I still don't think he is, with the whole COVID thing.
Right.
But there's always something going on in the field, but you have to know where to look.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just exciting all the time like football is. We've compared football and baseball on earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Baseball, you have to know about the sport to find out what's exciting and what's not. Like I said, my wife doesn't watch a lot of sports. We're watching a Red Sox game the other day because I said, "Hey, there's like 2 innings left. Let me just finish it." She sits down and watches it. And one of my favorite pickups for the Red Sox, we haven't mentioned him yet, so here we go. Hunter Renfroe. I mean, this guy's amazing. He's leading the majors in outfield assists. And then he's got 45 RBIs, so he's on average to get about 85, 90 RBIs for a pickup guy. That's pretty good.
That's massive.
He knocks one out over the monster, and I said, "Oh, that's gone." And she goes, "How do you know?" And I said, "Because when you watch enough games, you hear the bat, you see the swing on it, and you just know. You just know he got all of that. 9 times out of 10, you're right. You don't have to see it. Just like the pitcher knows. That's why he doesn't even look anymore. He just drops his head and goes, "All right, let's go get the next batter because this one just took me yard."
Yeah, man, I think baseball is still the purest game that there is. And as much as I love football, baseball's in the summertime. Baseball, hot weather, cold beer. I mean, what's wrong with that? So nothing's wrong with that. So Jake, man, this was awesome. I really appreciate you hopping on with me. When we get to, the football season, I have a different guest each and every week. My memory serves me right. The Buffalo Bills play the Cleveland Browns this year. I'm pretty sure they do.
I believe so.
I'll have you on for that week for sure. We got a deal. Absolutely. Sound good?
Absolutely. Ryan, I appreciate you having me on, man.
Of course, man. This was a pleasure, and go Red Sox, man. I think this year could be, just as you said, just like 2013 where nobody saw it coming, but we're here and we're here to stay.
We're here to stay, but it's a long while yet. You got to stay focused. They got to finish the year out.
Yep. Yeah, they got to stay strong and keep the faith, as they used to say.
That's right.
Take care, buddy. Thanks for hopping on.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you. Take care. That was Jake Klingshirn. I was really excited to have Jake on and discuss some Red Sox baseball. It's a rarity that I get to discuss baseball on this show, and baseball is a huge love of mine. It's a sport that it's in my blood. Literally, it's in my blood. More so in comparison to even football. So I'm going to be bringing you a little bit more baseball coverage each and every week recap some, divisional races and stuff like that. I've really wanted to tap into that side of sports for quite some time. And, just due to being busy or, getting sidetracked with other projects, it's tough to do that. But I'm hopping off now. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Thomas Take Sports Podcast. Take care and stay safe.